In the end, the UK government's victory in the crunch vote in its Rwanda asylum bill was fairly comfortable. A majority of 44 meant that the Conservative High Command had managed to stave off a mass backbench revolt. No Tory MPs voted against the legislation, despite many trashing it over recent days. But dozens of them abstained, and getting the bill through the Commons is set to remain a big challenge for the Prime Minister, with more very difficult negotiations to come in the new year. Tonight's vote followed a long and at times passionate Commons debate. Here's a flavour of it.
This is how we will save lives at sea. This is how we will deter illegal migration. And this, Mr. Speaker, and the House should take note of this, this is how we will break the business model of the most evil and perverse trade that we currently can see.
This is policy in a death spiral. Tougher and tougher and tougher. Turn the screw, threaten people with rendition flights to Rwanda. It won't work because nothing they have done before has worked. Why? Because it doesn't deal with the reason why people are coming here.
This is not a bad bill, but it is not the best bill. I want this bill to work. The test of this policy is not, is it the strongest bill we've done? It's not, is it a good compromise? It's, will it work? That is all the public care about.
The backbenchers saying yesterday that the bill should have been pulled because it's partial and incomplete, and the Home Secretary, who privately called this whole thing batshit, is out to bat for it today, even though he knows it won't work.
Where is the plan? Answer came there none. There was a verbal vacuum. There wasn't even a cut and paste solution. There was no plan whatsoever. Contrast that with the clear determination of all of those on this side of the chamber to stop the boats. And Madam Deputy Speaker, I commend this bill to the House.
The Commons showdown was watched by STV's Westminster correspondent Paris Gourtsoyannis. So Paris, how do you assess the results of tonight's vote for the Prime Minister?
Well, there's relief for Rishi Sunak tonight, but perhaps only for tonight, because the collective message from the dozens of Conservative MPs on the various right-wing pressure groups, the ERG, the New Conservatives, etc., is that while they're allowing him a victory tonight, unless he toughens this legislation, unless it disapplies more UK and international human rights law, well then next year they may well vote against the government and defeat it. And a crucial question is, what assurances, what promises has the Prime Minister made those MPs? Because an even bigger group of Conservative MPs, the moderate wing of the party, have, like the Prime Minister, they believe that this legislation is as tough as it gets, and they won't allow it to get any tougher. Rishi Sunak is squeezed between the two flanks of his party, and it seems like next year might begin to feel like the chaotic years under Theresa May when the party struggled to get a Brexit deal passed.
So what happens next with the Rwanda asylum legislation?
Well, the next stage is the committee stage and report stage. That's when those amendments will be put down by Conservative MPs and fought between the different flanks of the party and the government. And then there'll be another crunch vote in the Commons when, like tonight, we'll be waiting to hear what those rebel groups, what their verdict will be. But let's assume that Rishi Sunak clears those hurdles. Well, then the legislation goes to the House of Lords, and the government doesn't have a majority there, and peers will be putting down lots of unhelpful amendments. And the other thing to remember is that because the Rwanda plan wasn't in the 2019 Conservative manifesto, and because we're so close to a general election, the conventions that usually mean the government can force through a law, those don't apply in this case. So, you know, one way or another, it's looking like a bit of an unhappy new year for Rishi Sunak on this issue at least. Well, joining me now to reflect on tonight's result is Andrew Bowie, the Energy Minister responsible for nuclear and networks, and also the MP for West Aberdeenshire and Kincardine. Andrew, thanks very much for joining me. You were there during those chaotic years over Brexit. Why is the Conservative Party going to war with itself again over this?
I know that today probably has been unpalatable, and for many people watching this evening and who've been watching over the course of the day, you know, incomprehensible that the Conservative Party would have engaged in this debate. But what we saw today was a thorough, robust and open exchange of views on a very important piece of policy that we all agree we need to get across the line. We all agree that we need to stop the boats. We all agree that the Rwanda plan is the plan that will help us do that. There are differing views about how we implement that and to what extent certain parts of that legislation should apply and the strength of certain parts of legislation, and that's understandable. And it's good that we live in a place and have a party in government that we're able to have those debates. And tonight, the government, with a majority of 40, secured second reading for this bill, which means it proceeds through its processes.
But is there any good outcome, though, for the Prime Minister? He's going to have to make one side of the party unhappy or the other to get this through.
Look, I mean, I don't accept that, Paris, because everybody today was telling me that we were on course for a defeat, the first time a government's ever been defeated at a second reading of any bill in generations. Everybody was telling me that even if we won, it was going to be incredibly close, there were going to be Conservative MPs voting against this bill. None of that came to pass. The government got this piece of legislation across the line with a solid majority, and now we proceed to committee stage, and at that point we'll be discussing amendments and changes and tweaks, and that's when we will be focusing on the real detail of how this bill can get into the right place so that all Conservative MPs can get this piece of legislation on the statute book to stop the boats, smash the people trafficking gangs, and get planes off the ground going to Rwanda.
And how much do your constituents in Aberdeenshire and those across Scotland, how much do they really care about this? Do they want to stop the boats or stop the turmoil here at Westminster?
Well, look, I think it's really important that we stop the boats, not just because the British people believe that it should be up to the British government and the British people collectively to determine who can come into this country, and that people coming here illegally should not be allowed to do so, but also because the vicious and pernicious trade in human life that is going on the channel right now, where individuals and organisations are making profit out of a trade in human life, needs to be smashed. If we smash that and we use Rwanda as a deterrence, we will then be able to re-examine how we expand safe and legal routes into this country so that we can deal with the genuine refugees, the genuine people seeking a rescue from persecution, or the people that want to come here and really create a life here and support the economy of this country. Those are the people that we should be looking to support, not the people that are coming here illegally, and that is why this bill is so important.
Andrew Bowie, thank you very much for joining us on Scotland Tonight.
Thank you.
And so Rishi Sunak sleeping easier tonight, but perhaps looking at a difficult year ahead where this issue will certainly rumble on.
Paris in Westminster, thank you.